Hey, everybody, this is Liz from Augusta, and today I have the very youngest franchisee of Augusta Nation. And I'm going to let him introduce himself, and he'll tell you his name, where he's from, and a little bit about his background as growing up as a young person to bring him to who he is today. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Tyler Koukal, out in North Bend, Washington. It's about half an hour east of Seattle. I was born and raised there. Throughout like elementary school, middle school, did a bunch of lawn care, landscape work around the neighborhood and stuff. So always enjoyed the work, always enjoyed finding a way to provide value, and was never enjoying school very much. So when COVID started and all school went online, it was a huge opportunity to try things out. The classes, that was in my sophomore year, with them being online, and there wasn't really any established curriculum, so had all this time to myself. I'd been selling some stuff on eBay, like power tools, laptops, stuff
Smart.
that I got from electronic recyclers and off Craigslist, and did that at first, but I just got really burnt out with that. I learned a lot about kind of the fundamentals of business, like how to market stuff, how to provide good customer service, trying to just become disciplined and organized. So took away a lot from that, but then just got completely burnt out with it and wanted to get back to doing landscape work. So I'd gotten a Crown Victoria at a police auction for $500, and
Wow.
I put a hitch on that, got a utility trailer, and then started doing mowing and property cleanups.
I love it.
I was a little more comfortable with the idea of charging a reasonable price. Like I'd been charging like 15, 20 an hour when I was younger, but moved up to 35. I thought it was pretty impressive that
Yeah.
people were willing to pay more than like a minimum wage for landscape work. So had a lot of fun with that over that summer. Worked with some of my friends.
How old were you then?
Six, let's see,
16.
16. Yeah. It was like
Okay.
July when I started doing that. I got my license. Um, didn't really do much mowing. It was really just like a lot of cleanups, debris, weeds. So that was that really chaotic time of just trying to figure out how to have people working for me, figuring out
Right.
payroll, taxes, marketing. There's so much I was trying to figure out. That and scheduling and budgeting work. That was a real struggle. Didn't really know how long stuff would take.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, for sure. You needed some reps in before you could really know.
yeah.
Yeah. So when's the first time you heard about Mike?
So late in the fall of that year, fall of I think it was 2020, I I was really enjoying doing the work and wanted to find a different path other than going to college. My parents were really pushing me heavy to go to college, get like a 4-year degree, and that's the route they had gone down, and the route my family members had gone down, and they didn't really see opportunity outside of someone going down that route. So I had a lot of pressure to do that, but never enjoyed school. Was always distracted. Just wasn't for me. So I was trying to figure out like how I could make the landscaping into a full-time business that I could do
Mm,
school and really grow and scale it. The YouTubers I was watching earlier on talked a lot about how to like get to your first 100,000, maybe have like 1 or 2 employees, but I didn't see a lot of future in that. So I think Mike's channel had like 4 or 5 thousand subscribers at that time, but stumbled upon his content, started just watching a ton of that, and like just gave me this new sense of hope to see somebody who had built a good business in the industry and was completely open and transparent about how he did it and all the issues you have and how to get to that point.
So, how old were you when you had your phone call with him, and how did that go the first time you talked to Mike?
I was still 16 at that time. I think that was the fall of 2021. It was like a month or so before Landscape Summit of that year. That's the year it was online for COVID. Uh, what was the question again?
I was asking how it was, how old you were,
Mm.
and then that first phone call with Mike. When you told him you wanted to be a franchisee, what was his response to you? And did you just come to the summit to just see, or was he like pushing you off to even do the franchise, or did you have that in mind when you came to the summit?
I was super nervous when I booked that call.
I
I
bet.
had written out some questions going into it. So, but I was surprised that Mike kind of took me serious, and I was trying to frame it immediately. Like I probably I can't join right now. Probably need to be older to join a franchise. But I was trying to figure out when I could feasibly do that. I was pretty sold on the systems of Augusta. Not really this. At that time, I wasn't really looking at it through the perspective of the systems and the business model as much as the support, like the website, command center. That was a huge hurdle I had of in class. I couldn't really pick up the phone or respond to emails, so uh, really knew that command center would be a huge support for me. But when I got on that phone call, he took me serious and was asking good questions, and we had a pretty good conversation. And he was like, when you're 18 and you have the money saved up, come back, and let's talk then. Which I was a better response than I was expecting. I thought it was gonna be like, yeah, you should probably be in your 20s, have a few years of experience.
Wow.
But he invited me to go to Landscape Summit, and I did that and really enjoyed the content. And there was some Q&A time. I was asking
Mhm.
some questions. I think one of them was like about how robotics was going to change things over time. But then let's see what happened from that. After that, I had messaged you, Liz, to see if I could get the paint color for Augusta. The truck I had, it was an interesting paint scheme and wanted to get it painted regardless, but I was seeing if I could get it painted the Augusta colors to get ready to be able to join eventually. And you got back to me saying that Mike wanted to have another call with
Yep.
me. So I scheduled that, and what he laid out was that he admired the questions I asked and felt that I was taking things seriously, and that I could, if I put 2,000 down, I could join and pay the remainder of the fee as I was able to, and come to the training that February.
Wow. So it was really the way you presented yourself, your approach, and the questions that you had. I know that when you contacted me and I said, "Hey, that kid who you talked to before and just said, you need to wait a little while. Do you think that we should see what we can do for him and let him join?" And Mike said, "I put myself in his place, and he said when I was 16, I was ready to run businesses." So what did your parents think when you brought this crazy idea of wanting to join a franchise to them?
They didn't take the idea very serious. I believe their kind of understanding of businesses was like with seeing their friends and joining like MLMs like Tupperware and whatnot. And that was kind of what they thought like owning a business was. So
Mm,
from their point of view, it was not something that I should pursue. I just don't think they had the influence of people around them who had been in business and
right. No
well,
positive experiences.
yeah. So I know they were looking out for me, but I felt that they were really against me joining and not and pursuing business. There was constant conflict over, um, like the time I was committing to school. I remember
Mm.
like one time I was in my calculus class. I was at the material yard shoveling stuff out of the truck, and then my camera somehow turned on. My teacher was like, "What are you doing?" So
Oh no.
yeah, I was always just trying to work through the Zoom classes, and
Yep.
there was a lot of flack and arguments over that. So, but and that was really hard at the time to not really have support of the people around me in pursuing business. And I get where they were coming from, but I wish that my family was more supportive of that. And I know it was coming from a good place, but that was still pretty hard.
Yeah. Did you introduce the content to them? Did you ask them to maybe watch so that they could vet Mike in their own mind and be convinced?
Yeah, I put together a playlist of a few videos that I felt really well stated what Augusta was about, and outlining the stages of the business, the process of building, and the issues it'll face. I'm not sure if they watched that, but they ultimately didn't stop me, fortunately, from pursuing that. And yeah, I went to franchise training in February of 2021 as the 37th location.
Wow, that's so exciting. And so, man, that's just the beginning. You joined the franchise, and then were you able to use Command Center as your office staff?
Yeah, so command center taking the phone calls, emails, estimate request forms. That was a very beneficial aspect. Also gave me better branding and legitimacy. It was sometimes hard to sell a job and the person's like, "Yeah, you seem a little young to be doing this." I was also trying to hire some people full time, and it was also hard to get people to take me seriously on that, which totally understandable. So like having command center send me hiring documents and the systems was very important to being able to start getting some people hired.
So, what was that like when you hired older people? Was there an issue with that, with the seriousness of the way they took you as their boss when you gave them instruction?
I feel like it was a much more awkward situation to them than I realized at the time.
Mm,
I've the people I hired, I peaked at having 4 full-time employees while I was in school. We had all this work coming in, and had this dumb idea that I should try to meet demand. I was really in kind of scarcity mindset of it seemed unimaginable that just have all these leads coming in and people taking quotes at what I thought at the time was a lot of money, but I was really underbidding the job, so
hmm
didn't really make any money off of them. But I was felt really pressured by myself to scale the business and get people hired. So peaked at having 4 full-time employees. In retrospect, they were all really good people, and if they were part of the company now, they'd do very well. But I was not equipped to be able to lead at that time, and yeah.
So, this is 2 years later. So, how would you say you're better equipped to lead now? What have you done or experienced or put your attention to try to be a better leader?
Uh, the biggest thing that changed stuff for me was reading Jocko's books about leadership and management. I didn't really have any great role models of what a leader should be like going up to that. And hearing Jocko talk about taking ownership over your mistakes and the success and
hmm
failure of the team, that was very important to me being able to develop my leadership skills. And just the repetition of learning to be firm on things, to set and uphold standards. Also becoming more confident in myself and
hmm
business. I think that shows through, and I didn't have much confidence in what I was doing earlier on, and that definitely showed through. But
hmm
I in by like summer, I was down to 2 or 3 of them, and then by fall, the last guy I had on my team, he didn't have his driver's license, and I
Oh
was going
man.
to school full time. So I was like, "You really need to get this, or I can't continue to employ you because otherwise you can't get to the job sites." So unfortunately, that didn't work out. So was put down to being back by myself by the like September or October of
Wow.
that year.
So then what did you do? You didn't have help. Did you start dropping jobs or did you just take off school?
With school we were in person I think like 2 or 3 days a week if I
Oh,
remember
okay.
correctly.
Okay.
So I still had a decent bit of time, and I wasn't paying much attention to that or doing assignments. So that opened up my schedule quite a bit. Also started employing some of the people that I knew through school.
Okay.
It was a very good option at that time, and when I had like one or two of them working for me, that worked really well. But when we went into last year, let's see, 2022, I was like, okay, well, it wasn't a great experience for me hiring people full time. There's a lot of people I know through school who would be fine to work weekends, and I hired a lot of people through school, but it was hard. It became more of a social gathering instead of working, so
Yeah.
that ended up not working.
So I'm assuming that now you are way past the Crown Victoria. So what equipment did you start with and what equipment do you have now for trucks, trailers?
Had a F-250 that I got in the fall of 2020. That was like 2 months or so before joining Augusta, and we currently have 4 trucks.
Wow.
Yeah, there. I didn't understand just how unreliable older trucks could be, so had to sink a lot of money into trying to get them all fixed up. Going forward, I
Mhm.
think I'm gonna get newer trucks like 2013 to 2015 in that
Smart.
range.
Mhm.
So, uh, yeah, another issue I had in like 2020 and 2021 was, or I really lacked proper equipment. Like our weed whackers were cheap Husqvarnas from Lowe's and didn't have enough wheelbarrows, didn't have enough shovels. So that really hindered efficiency, not having the
For
right
sure.
tools for the jobs.
For sure. So, up till now, we're getting ready to start a whole new season. Well, we've basically started. We're both in Washington State,
Mhm.
and we typically start mowing in March. So we're now into April 1st. So how has your first month of this year gone so far?
The first month has gone pretty well. Our revenue is a lot lower than it's been in the past, but sleeping a lot better at night, knowing that we're doing things the right way, not doing big projects, not doing things that are outside the systems of Augusta. So uh, I have one full time employee right now, and we split our time between mowing and cleanups. So get in a much better position in the past just from the knowledge and experience I've gained from the hardships of the past. There's been just endless issues and hard experiences, but
Hmm.
hardship has really built character, and it's been a great opportunity to learn many years of lessons in a much
Totally.
more condensed time, even though it was very hard to get through in the time.
Yeah, no kidding. Can you share about maybe one of the large landscaping jobs or projects that, of course, now you wish you hadn't done,
Mhm.
but maybe something that happened and how you learned from that and how you decided and knew that you wanted to simplify your services?
Mhm. The first one the first like large project that I did, that was in 2021. It was like a really overgrown property. We were tearing everything out, doing a new lawn, new garden beds, putting in some plants. So we did pretty good on the work, but we went way over on hours because I didn't know how to get that done in an efficient manner. And towards the end of the project, the client wanted to change a bunch of things. I didn't really have the communication and customer service skills to be able to do that properly, and that led to a lot of conflict. And that situation devolved pretty quickly. So I that I there, there were a few projects through last year that were like in the 15 to 25,000 range, and I look back at those regretting that I did those, not for just because they went over on hours, but I just don't feel that we were able to deliver exactly what was sold. Like one of them was like a $300 hogs fuel install. I
Mm-hmm.
was like, okay, well, this is simple. We can do this. But it was just such a massive job and took so much longer than I thought. So the just feeling like I let people down on those has really increased my conviction and sticking to the simple services that we can provide a great experience on every time.
Mm-hmm. Well, something really important that you said was in the last couple years, you've learned what some people in many years, it takes them many years to do for people to realize that they lose so much money on those big projects, and to simplify is something a lot of people don't learn till years down the road. So you really have a competitive advantage being so young and have learned those so young. But you lost a lot of money in the process, a lot of sleep. And if you had to do, say, that hog fuel job again, would you just restructure how you set the whole job up, or would you not take it at all? Do you have a limit on how many yards or install or difficulty of the property?
I wouldn't have taken it to begin with. With the terrain, it was very challenging, very muddy, a ton of very hard labor. So I've I've edited our wiki and service autopilot so that when command center gets a call, they know if what the customer wants is something we can accomplish. So if we got like a really massive cleanup like that, just tell the client, hey, this isn't something we can accomplish. But if it's like anything regarding to pavers or retaining walls, the office knows through those notes that it's not something that we can do for the customer. So
I love it.
yeah.
So, looking forward to this coming year, can you share what your goals are for this year and your big goal? Let's say a 5-year goal looking down the road. What are you kind of thinking?
Yeah, so the goal for this year, to give some context to this, the Issaquah location, which is right next to me, we worked really closely with each other last year, and we have very similar goals, get along very well. So, and we both had the goal of trying to establish good market presence throughout King County. So we decided that it would be better to go at that together than apart. So we've did like a merger of our businesses,
Okay.
and we're segmenting off into first getting the North Bend Snoqualmie location to what's called in Augusta the working GM model, where
Mm-hmm.
we have 4 to 5 employees and then a manager whose time is split between working in field and doing estimates and admin work. So there's about 20,000 people between North Bend and Snoqualmie, and it's a pretty affluent area. We have about 12,000 in mowing revenue currently. We're focusing our resources on getting that up to around like 35,000 so that we could have 3 to 5 employees who are just working in that area, and then promote one of the employees, Noah, who's been working for me for the past year now. He's really learned the systems well, has a lot of great management and customer service experience. So once we get that into that position, he's going to be able to do very well with that role. Then probably in fall, we'll hand it off to him. There's a great training through Augusta to be able to help him learn what he needs to be able to do that on top of what we've already taught him. And from that point forward, in the Issaquah area, it's kind of split between Issaquah, Sammamish, Bellevue, Renton has a little piece of each city. So our goal is to take each city, get a few mowing routes, and then promote somebody from within to become the manager of the location, and not grow massively in each area, have a small presence, but have really good profit margins and really simple model.
So,
So
so just for the listeners, you guys have neighboring territories, and the two of them own their business, and then you own yours. So we have two separate Augusta locations, and the three of you have come together to split it 3 ways. Is that how you're doing it?
So the LLC that owns the Issaquah location, now also holds a minority stake in the North Bend location, and then the North
Okay.
Bend location holds a minority stake in the Issaquah location. That way, if we decided it's not something we want to do anymore, we could revert that, and it not that if that were to come, wouldn't be a huge deal to get the businesses back to where they were.
Hmm.
But it gives us interest in scaling each of the territories and splitting our time and efforts between them.
And so, did the three of you decide on whose roles and responsibilities each had? Did you split those three ways, or how did you structure that?
Yeah, that was something we spent a lot of time talking about, what the different roles and responsibilities would be for the current time and in the years to come. So right now, Thomas is doing the estimates and admin work. He's been able to. It's a lot for one person to keep up with, but
Hmm.
he's been able to stay on top of doing that. And then Brandon and I were mainly working in the field, and then helping with estimates or admin work if there's something that falls through the cracks.
So, how does that work with employees? Because I know they're two separate businesses. So, does each company have their own employees, or do you share?
Mhm. So last year we'd help each other out, like if one location was short on work or short on labor, move people and jobs around. That created a lot of conflict though between the
Yeah,
employees not having clear expectations
right.
and a certain job being in two different CRMs. And then if
Hmm.
the customer calls in, that would cause a lot of confusion for the office. So that was a hard lesson that we need to really segment things well.
Yeah,
So yeah, all jobs and employees are in one CRM and one territory. So it's Noah and I are working in the North Bend territory right now, and then for the Issaquah territory, there's Jenny and Darwin who are working full time. So
got it.
we have a lot of receivables that we are owed from ice melt and snow work through winter,
Hmm.
and we expect to get most of that in the next 30 to 45 days. So we're just kind of in profit mode until we get that in, and then we can start adding some more trucks and employees.
Got it. So each location will stay separate, buying their own trucks, hiring their own employees, but the three of you have your responsibilities that you handle in both companies.
Yep, yep. So I'm basically still in the general manager role of the North Bend
Okay.
location, although I'm not really doing the estimates or admin work. And then once we get into summer, fall, and the North Bend location is ready to have Noah take the managerial position, then he'll take that on, and then I will move to working in the Issaquah territory, so that we can grow the team there and get that split off into four different separate locations.
How old are you now?
18.
Okay, so you've had the business now for a couple years. So uh, how were you able to get your equipment and things? Because you wouldn't have been old enough to get a loan, I don't think.
Mhm.
So did your parents help you? How were you able to acquire these? Because other young guys that are listening are going to ask that question.
Mhm. So for the registration of the trucks, they were registered under my parents' name. Once I turned 18, we got those transferred over. I believe you could also get them registered under the LLC. I'm not sure on that though. Uh, but it was definitely a challenge getting insurance and bonds and stuff.
Hmm.
It took a lot of time to try to find insurance providers who did not check the age of the person opening the policy, but
Yes.
found the right businesses eventually for those services. So there's definitely been some issues of I need with getting stuff registered and insurance, and so that was a distraction at times, but just found ways to get around that.
So, what would you say to the young person who, number one, doesn't have support of their family? Number two, they're very young like that, but yet they have this dream of owning their own business. And maybe it's grandiose and they need to simplify a little bit, but they might be a little scared, but they know this is what they want to do.
Mhm,
What do you wish somebody would have been there to say to you? And
mhm.
so, what would you share with them?
Yeah. It's a good position to be in, that even though at the time it's really intimidating and you feel kind of lost and not sure what path to go down. A lot of people have told me that, man, I wish I got started when you did, because when I was at that age, I was partying and not doing anything productive. So you'll
Hmm.
look back in time and be really glad you got started then, even though that definitely adds a lot of fear and intimidation at the time. So I was pretty intimidated in getting into books and learning. I was just
Hmm.
it was like there's so much to learn. It was just like overwhelming, and I'd put off doing that. But listen to a lot of books about business and leadership. That's gonna growing the knowledge you have, and that stuff's gonna pay off very well over time. So that would be one piece of advice. And the other thing would just start small. When you have big goals, you want to try to get it done quick and prove to yourself that you can do it. I feel I tried to grow things too fast. One, because I was trying to meet demand and was in a scarcity mindset in regards to that, but also I didn't have a lot of confidence in myself and that it was possible for me to grow a grow a good business. So
Hmm.
through that through that all that self doubt, it really pushed me to grow the business a lot faster than than one should reasonably do, because I just wanted to see, like, is this something I can actually do, or am I wasting my time with this? If that makes sense.
Yep, totally. And
Yeah.
what if they don't have any support from their family? What would you advise?
Uh, try to something that really helped me was, I mean, with Augusta, we have a very strong support group throughout Washington. We all the franchisees, we meet up regularly. So if you can find people around you who are going through the same things you went, or if you can find a community of other people who will support you, even if your family and those around you don't, it can be hard to do that. But just stay on the lookout for that. If you see someone at the material yard or whatever, and they're kind of same age as you, maybe go up to talk to them and introduce yourself. So
That's great advice.
yeah, and just start small. Do what you can for now. Don't lose sight of your bigger vision, and just take it one step at a time. You don't have to get there quick.
And what about your parents now? Are they supporting? Are they watching from a distance? Do you live at home? What's your communication like with them?
So moved out about 5 months ago. That was I was not looking forward to start having to pay rent, but that freedom and just being able to go home, go straight to bed, not have to uh, interact with people, that's really helped me be able to become more effective, more focused
Hmm.
on what I got going on. So I feel like moving out also really improved the relationship between me and my parents. Having that separation has really gotten rid of the arguments and
Hmm.
whatnot, and the time that we do spend together, been able to focus on catching up on things and being in a good headspace. So
Yeah, so it's like adult to adult now, and they
mhm.
respect what you're doing a little more.
Yeah, and I've also been able to realize that all the stresses that were in my parents' life, that it was hard to notice at the time, and how that was affecting them, and realizing that a lot of maybe their frustration or disapproval was more due to other things that they had going on in their lives, and not being able to handle that well, and that bleeding into the interactions my parents had with me and my siblings.
For sure. So, wrapping up now, can you share with us what you've been listening to? What things do you really feel like help build your character and are helping you change and grow?
hmm Other than keeping on top of Mike's content, I try to keep a pretty small circle of people I listen to. It's in the past when I try to listen to too much stuff, it's just distracting, and I lose track of what I need to focus on, and now try to just have a more condensed group of people that I am listening to. But I listen to a lot of Meet Kevin's videos,
Mm-hmm.
and it's good to just soak up the knowledge of kind of how the financial system works, and he has a lot of good advice to offer. Uh, Discipline Equals Freedom was a book that helped me a lot. Any
Mm-hmm.
books that will help you build discipline. Uh, People who are success, a common theme about through people who are successful in life is that they are able to stay focused and stay disciplined on what they're working on. So uh, those books really helped. Another book that I really liked was The Customer Rules.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, with that book, it took away a lot of the notions I had in my head of like customer service and interacting with customers and employees being this really complex system that
Mm-hmm.
get mastered to realizing that it's a lot easier than I was making it out to be in my head. Like, um, just treat people as they'd like to be treated, and
Yep.
you deep down you know what's right. Like brushing people off, ignoring your messages, getting upset. Those are never going to lead to a good outcome. So, just stay balanced. Have higher lows, lower highs in your emotions, and just understand that it's going to take 3 to 5 years, maybe more, of grinding at one thing to get good at it and start seeing results.
Well, that's great advice for anyone. And to wrap things up, how about some quotes? One quote, some quotes?
Yeah. Quote I really liked when I was doing some very long snow shifts through the winter, keep telling us is like, man, I can't keep going. And then I was like, all it takes is all you got. You got it. Just keep going. So really like that quote. And yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, any final words you want to share? You have the platform, and anything you've sometimes, we go along and we think, man, if I could share this with people, or if I've made this mistake and I sure wish I could share this. Is there anything like that you would want to share with our listeners?
Um, I think just just keep learning. Don't shut yourself off from taking in new information, and it continues to compound as you go. Like I found that kind of audiobooks, they network and build on each other, and you can relate ideas, and it pays extreme dividends in the long term to stay in that growth mindset. And don't shut yourself off from the people around you, and don't because then you kind of end up in an echo chamber and end up taking the wrong actions because you're got tunnel vision on certain items.
Yeah. Well, we'll end on that. Thank you so much for your time today. I am excited to have you with Augusta Nation and to see what's going to happen in this upcoming year and how you guys will do.
Thank you, Liz. I really appreciate it. Have a good day.
You too. Bye bye.
Bye.
I'm trying to close it out.
See ya.
There we go. Bye.